Hey there, Bog Witch Rodeo Clown Iris Von Moxxii here, presenting you with our very first episode of Under the Paint, an interview style podcast where I ask fellow drag artists about their history with drag, where they are going with it, and get to learn a little bit more about them and what they are like under the paint. For this very first episode, I have convinced one of my darling best friends, fellow founder of Montana Weirdo Drag Collective, The Bounce House, the Psychic Seductress Stella Kinesis, to grace me with some of her time and spill her origin story to me. And I'm so grateful that she was interested in doing this, not only because she's such a good friend of mine and talented artist, but we have similar upbringings as queer folks in conservative areas. And obviously, being from Montana, we have a lot of experience with drag in conservative spaces because most of the spaces in Montana are conservative. So, something that I would really love to do with this podcast is use it to give voices to queer artists in these spaces. So if you are a queer artist in a conservative area, I want to talk to you about it. And whether that is drag or any other art, the world deserves to hear how you create, and I want to help get that out. So we can help inspire others who may be feeling trapped in their spaces as the current political spectrum skews conservatively. And that isn't to say that every interview will be about that, but it is on my mind. So, without further ado, here is an interview with my good Judy, Stella Kinesis. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Under the Paint, where I'm interviewing my darling, sweet friend, Stella Kinesis. Stella, say hi.
Hello. I'm so honored to be the first guest. Thank you for
Oh
having
my
me.
god, honored is a strong word since you were like the first person I asked, and you were like, sure, I'll do it. Which, I mean, is kind of the way to make anything happen with, you just gotta put yourself out there and you gotta ask.
Yeah.
And I imagine there will be lots of hiccups and technical difficulties, but we're just gonna roll right through them. So, I feel like the first question of any interview is very important. So,
Yeah.
I have a deep one for you.
Okay.
Why?
Why? Why?
It's
Why?
philosophical, you know?
Yeah. To
Some of
make,
us don't even know.
right? Like, okay. First thing that comes to mind is like the reason why, to make life more bearable,
Oh,
you know?
yeah, Diva, I agree with that.
Yeah, that resonates with you.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, so like, what was your life before drag like? Like before you started
Yeah.
even knew what drag was?
Yeah, so, oh gosh, back before I even knew when drag was, it was when I was probably like pretty young, but yeah, before I like started doing drag and stuff, I was like very lonely. I was very isolated. Um, I moved out of a small town to Missoula, and Missoula is kind of known in Montana as being like kind of like the most queer friendly place there is here, and um, so like at first I was very afraid of drag, and I was very afraid of queer community because I felt like it was this like, I don't know, I was taught to be afraid of it sort of
Well, it's the
growing up.
devil,
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
weren't wrong about that. But
Right? Yeah, but they were wrong about how scary it is, really. But yeah, before drag I was like very lonely, very isolated. I was very afraid of like other queer community for the most part. Um, yeah.
and part of the reason I wanted to interview you first is because I
Yeah.
feel like we've got a very similar origin in that way. Like we both came from very small
Hmm.
conservative towns, basically fled to Missoula to like get out of that shell.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I definitely relate, and I think a lot of people who do drag in Montana, or like honestly, a lot of queers in Montana in general, probably relate to that.
Yeah.
What was your first drag experience? Like, Did you see
Ooh.
Mrs. Doubtfire and you were like, Robin Williams changed my life?
No, actually, so I kind of grew up as like a YouTube kid. So, um, the first drag queen I ever encountered was actually Willem. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah. So I have like very vivid memories of like stumbling upon Willem when I was like up in my room late at night watching YouTube videos, and but I was introduced to him in like a way of like I he was like in a video of another YouTube video that I had watched. And so like I wasn't really aware of him as like a drag queen. I just like knew him as like somebody who uploaded stuff on YouTube. And so yeah, seeing Willem was my first experience of seeing a drag queen.
I'm getting a little bit of like static from your mic. I don't know if it's
Oh,
like
is it sound any better now?
a little bit, yeah. And not everybody invested in like $100 podcasting mic like I did, so.
Right. I'm using like an old gaming headset, so um
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I'm grateful you're using anything at all. You could just be shouting into your laptop.
yeah, I knew that wouldn't be the move, so
So you saw Willem, and it wasn't on one of any of his incredible acting experiences, like as a dying whore on SVU or whatever.
No, it wasn't. It was literally
I've
on
never seen
YouTube.
Willem in anything.
I haven't either,
I
yeah.
just know.
That's her claim to fame, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
she's
yeah.
like, I'm an acting diva.
Yeah, I literally a YouTube
So
video.
okay, hell yeah. And then when did you decide you wanted to get into drag?
Right. So God, it was like I mentioned, it came from a small town, so there was a lot of like unlearning and like internalized homophobia that I had to work through
Yep,
before I got to the
familiar.
point of like even realizing that it was something that I wanted to do. But um, after I moved to Missoula, I got a job at a nonprofit here in town, Empower Montana. Um, they like run queer support groups, and I was lucky enough to like be the person to run one of those groups, and that sort of slowly started to expand my mind about like gender and specifically like how helped me sort of learn how I had been taught to fear femininity so severely growing up. Um, and so that is really into drag is something that I really want to do because I've always felt very connected and empowered by femininity, but I was also very afraid of it because of the way I was brought up. And so uh, once I started learning more about gender and feeling better about femininity, I was like, you know what? I think that would be something that would make me feel really confident and powerful.
Yeah, I again totally have a very similar experience
Yeah.
to that. I've told you this story, but I feel like I should put it out into the world. You know, like as a later in life trans woman, I had a lot of unlearning to do about like femininity and leaning into it, and a lot of that comes from my dad being like very I'm like he knew some things that I didn't know because I remember when my parents got divorced and he had this big talk with me about how I have a younger sister who is amazing and I love her, and my mom was getting primary custody of the two of us, so it was going to be the three of us living with or the two of us living with my mom, and my dad took us out to dinner before this was all happening to the place where I got my first job, which was the Little Blue Joint restaurant in Darby, Montana. And I was eating a slice of pepperoni pizza, and he said, "Son, something that you need to understand is that you're the man of the house now, and so therefore that comes with a lot of responsibility." And then he said, "I don't care what you want to do with your life, or how you want to go through your life, as long as you don't think that you're a fucking girl. And that did a lot of damage to 13-year-old me. So I also, yeah, I needed to do a lot of like unlearning and sort of psyching myself up. I think if I'm not going to be like, kids these days have it so easy. But you're in your late 20s, I'm in my early 30s. And like coming from conservative towns and being, like I graduated in 2010. And even then, like things were were not as good for like queer people, especially trans people. A lot of my like trans experiences were like watching movies where like trans characters are villains for being like duplicitous and stuff like that. But both of us have the joy of drag now, so
Yes.
yeah, very fantastic thing.
Mhm.
Um, so let's pivot to a better thing to talk about. And
Yeah.
I've said time and time again that your drag name is like my favorite drag name,
Oh.
and I'm so mad that I didn't come up with it first. But so it goes. So my question is, how did you come up with your drag name? Did you have any other drag names that like I have a notes app doc on
Uh-huh.
my phone of just like all the names that I came up with.
Yeah. Okay, so Stella Kinesis, the way it came about, right around the same time that I like started um, feeling like I was gonna be interested in getting into drag, I was also really into comics at the time. I still am really into comics, but like at that time it was like listening to podcasts all day about comics, reading comics all evening, like, and so I've always just really loved characters with psychic abilities, specifically like Jean Grey um, from Marvel Comics. And so I had just really been thinking and mulling over a lot of different names. I did have a notes app, but I have no idea where that note exists any longer. So, but I, was just really thinking about it. And because I was thinking about comics all day long, listening to podcasts, I think I just heard someone in a podcast say telekinesis, but the word right before had ended in an S, and I was like, wait a second.
Jimmy Neutron brain blast.
Literally, I was like, and once I like thought of it, I was like, this is truly meant to be, because of my obsession with Marvel Comics and specifically psychic characters, like it just felt so right. And so I feel like so blessed to have thought of this name. And like before I made my Instagram and decided to go with this name, I like looked on Instagram, you know.
And I was about to ask you if that was a thing that you did, because this is a warning for all the people who do drag or want to do drag, that haven't come up with their name yet, or maybe have come up with their name yet. Look it up. Just look it up. See what else it's being used for. I'm not going to name any names, but if you're listening to this and it sounds like you, it probably is, because it breaks my heart. I mean, there's this whole thing going on with Lexi Love from season
Hmm.
17 of Drag Race right now, where this gal shot a bunch of porn with that name and is now like suing Lexi for use of that name, which is like creating a whole series of issues for Lexi, which is a huge bummer because she's great. I love her work. Um, and the other Lexi, evil Lexi Love, is like a cryptocurrency AI peddler.
Oof.
So I ain't about that life, and
Yeah.
it's just a massive bummer all around. So just a warning for all of you: look it up. Just look it up.
Yes.
And it sucks when it feels like you came up with a really cool name, and somebody else already has it. Like that's a huge bummer. But it's gonna save you so much heartache in the long run if you avoid that.
truly.
So anyway, you've got this cool drag name. Tell me, I know all about your first gig
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it was
yeah.
the very first gig that I ever emceed.
Yes.
So it's got a special place in my heart. But I'm curious about this tale from your perspective. So tell me about your first gig, everything that went into it,
Yes, okay.
etc.
So, a colleague that I work with, his husband is someone who had been doing drag, and I had been talking to him for a while about getting into drag, but he was sort of like on his way out of the scene at that time.
Oh, Jackson, love him,
Yes,
miss
yep,
him.
love Jackson. And then I saw that there was a show coming up, and so I was like, okay, this is my chance. I need to try and get involved. And so I reached out to Diana Bourgeois. Um, she's
Basically our mutual drag mother. We won't talk about your real drag mother.
Yes. But yeah, reached out to Diana Bourgeois, someone that I had like somewhat met through Empower Montana when I was working there, and um, sort of just explained to her, I've been looking to get into drag. I see there's a show coming up. What? How do I get involved? And she had me come over to her house that week and had
A
me,
classic.
yep, had me pitch her my drag name, which she loved, and then she wanted just a sort of like explanation of what my vision was for my
Yeah, she has a whole interview process that she does when she wants to get somebody into drag.
So yeah, she let me like look through her closet, and I explained to her the whole connection to comic books, and she had this like Catwoman suit, and so I was like, oh, perfect. And the theme for the first show was Gaytrix Reloaded, the first show that I ever
Yep.
did. And it was also like I hadn't been to a drag show since I was a freshman in college. So this was like, I hadn't even been to one in years at that point. And so Diana just had me come over the day of the show. She painted my face. There was another baby getting into drag for the first time on the same night. And so she painted their face too.
Who is
Um,
that?
it was, oh God, Lux.
Lux. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
Lux doesn't really perform much anymore because they are struggling with their mobility issues, right?
Yes,
At least I think that's part of it.
they had like a skateboarding accident, and
Ugh, just a massive setback.
yep, yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, and
but
that show was like all like they wanted a bunch of babies for that show. There's like six new
mhm,
performers, and I think only
yes,
you and Angel, Ms. Angel Fire, who is my drag daughter, um, I think you two are the only ones who still perform.
I think so too, yeah. Yeah, I think it was just us two. So wild. But I performed a song by Queen Herbie, and um I don't have like much theater experience, so it was also kind of like one of my first times on stage, and you know, first time drag
It.
performances are very overwhelming.
Oh yeah,
um,
it's crazy. I
I got
cried in
up
my truck on the
there.
way home after my first show. So
Oh, for sure, I cried that night too, because it's just like this overwhelming surge of emotions, and I didn't do any of the things that I planned to do on stage, but I still got off the stage and was like, that was a life-changing experience, and I will definitely be doing it again.
yeah, so that like made you want to keep performing that exact moment.
Yeah, and I think it was also just, I think being on stage, it gives you validation from people, sure, but it also, I think, gives you this moment to really just feel um, very confident and empowered as this like character that you're presenting, and that's not a feeling that some queer people have readily access to, so it was a very like powerful feeling. So yeah, that was when I was like, I think this is going to help me, become a more confident person, but it's also something that I already like to do.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, like in the 2.5 years that, like, since then, I mean,
Mhm.
I see a more confident person in you. I obviously didn't know you super well beforehand, but we
Right.
have since become great friends. So
Hmm. No, I'm definitely way more confident now. So
yeah, it's
drag.
like it's a combination of like all of that, and then also like having a community of people who understand that experience as
Yes.
well.
Hmm.
So like you finally feel like people, understand what you're going for and are on the same level in that regard.
Absolutely.
So what inspires your drag? You kind of talked about the comic book stuff, but like,
Yeah.
when wanting to get into drag and then doing drag and like
Hmm.
continuing to do drag are kind of different beasts. And like once
Definitely.
you've gotten acclimated to doing drag, I feel like your expectations come into focus a little more. So like what now
Hmm.
continues to inspire you, or like what inspires you?
Right. So I definitely still am very inspired by comic books and stuff, but I feel like now I draw from a wider variety of like nerdy things, like, you know, video games. I also love fantasy novels, and um, but I think another thing that as I sort of started to perform more, I really started to learn about the way I wanted to do drag is, and I've sort of touched on this as well, but like feeling like tapping into femininity and feeling empowered by femininity was like such a big reason of like why I wanted to get into drag in the first place. And so like that is also something that really just I draw a lot of inspiration from. So like, you know, whether that is like a powerful character in a book that I'm reading, or like artist that I really enjoy. I really draw a lot of inspiration from, you know, women and femininity in general. So,
Do you have any female icons?
oh God, yeah, it's I think right now my icons are Cat's Eye. Um
Yeah, that
yeah,
checks out.
I've just been really obsessed with them, but I just love the sort of like diverse sorts of femininity that they present, you know, like one of them is a lesbian, and they're all from different nationalities, and um, also like girl groups. Like that's I think there's a reason there's a girl group challenge on Drag Race. You know, like girl groups I think is such a big informer for drag in general. So like Cat's Eye is someone I'm really drawn to right now.
Yeah, I feel like girl groups in general, part of the power of them, why they're so important, is it shows a unification of like different styles coming together under like one
Yeah.
cause, one purpose. So I'm not like super into a whole bunch of girl groups, but I
Yeah.
do understand and recognize their importance. Eventually, I will watch Spice World. I promise.
I've never seen it either, so
Oh, Tina's gonna flog us both for that.
yeah, she's gonna be very upset.
Well, so what? As you've done drag for a couple years now,
Mhm.
what are some of your goals in drag?
Yeah. Well, drag is such a like there are so many skills that go into drag, and so like I feel like I constantly have things that I want to improve on. Every time I perform, there's something else that I'm like, ooh, that's something I want to learn. But the things that I'm sort of like prioritizing, I think, in my next year or so with drag, I really want to get better with like doing hair on my own. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like I've really become pretty self-sufficient and good as a makeup artist, and
Oh, your mug is so good.
oh, thank
I
you,
mean,
thank you.
I would say that you are there for sure.
Yeah, and so I feel like, obviously there's still ways that I can improve my makeup, but I don't feel like I need to dedicate as much focus to that anymore. So I really want to expand that to like learning how to do hair. And I also got a sewing machine last year that I have yet to really put any actual effort into learning how to
We're not
use.
gonna talk about the getting a sewing machine and then not knowing how to use it. I've had my sewing machine since for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
And and Isaac helped me thread it once, and then we didn't have time to do anything else, and that was my experience
Yep.
with the sewing machine. So,
Yeah.
I mean, my partner's knows how to use it, but I also a sewing machine is a thing that you need space for, and
Yes.
I've been to your place, you've been to my place. There's not a whole lot of space for
No.
crafts like that.
We don't have space for yards of fabric to be flown places. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, but you're not aiming for Drag Race right away. You're not aiming for Queen of the Universe or any of that other stuff.
No, I think, I don't want to say that Drag Race is like a goal of mine. I think a fun goal would be able to like do drag in not like totally full time, but like, you know, doing drag every weekend. That would be, and getting paid for it all the time. Like that would be a pretty cool thing to do. Drag Race, I think, would be a fun way to like challenge myself. It's definitely an experience I would be open to. It's not something that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get there someday, because
Yeah, I think that's a really healthy perspective to have on it.
yeah,
Especially because I feel like so many people get into drag specifically because they want to get on Drag Race style.
hmm
And I'm not gonna pretend I'm the biggest fan of Drag Race.
yeah,
And sort of I understand that it's had a really strong impact on drag, but I think it's got some positives and it's got some negatives.
yeah,
And I think, because it's kind of solidified itself in the general cultural zeitgeist as like the mecca of drag,
hmm
um, it has sort of polluted the. I'm not gonna say drag is like pure or anything, but I do feel like it's kind of made it so that a lot of the newer people are maybe getting into it for like the wrong reasons, or like
yeah,
they like first and foremost drag is like such a community thing. It's like so important from a community perspective. So
absolutely,
to like that is like what your focus should be on. And like you said, there are so many different ways to improve at drag. And
yeah,
it's not even, Jinx Monsoon said money begets better drag, and she was totally right.
hmm
And I think that, we've got bills to pay, we've got full time
yeah,
jobs and stuff like that. So you kind of gotta like take what you can and learn as you go in that way.
yeah,
And it's not just like hair is important, makeup is important, sewing is important, but like working on your stage presence,
hmm
working on ways to market yourself, all of those things can help your drag. Apologies if you can hear Callie barking in the background because trucks are driving by and she's just a little chihuahua in a big world.
How very dare they?
I know it's a nightmare for her. Okay, so we've talked about goals, and I kind of mentioned some as we have full time jobs and whatnot. But what are some hurdles
hmm
that you've had in drag that have kind of made it difficult?
Right.
You mentioned wanting to do drag like every weekend, and it'd be nice to
Yeah.
get paid for it.
hmm
One hurdle that I mean we both talked about a lot is like we live in Montana, so like doing drag every weekend is a near impossibility,
Yeah.
just because it's like the town that we live in population is like 60,000. So.
Yeah, and like even though it's a college town, I wouldn't say that there's like a thriving nightlife scene here or anything, So it's
No.
not like it would be there would be guaranteed success or anything if we were able to do it. So, But yeah, I would say that from my perspective, the three biggest like obstacles to growth that I've encountered are like uh, money, time, and opportunities. Um, you know, drag is expensive. Of course, there are ways to be crafty and to be, budget about the way that you go about your drag, but at the end of the day, there's still a large investment that has to be made to do drag. Um, and time, I have a full-time job. I am on the board of the ISCSM, the local nonprofit that does a lot of the drag stuff here. I like to go to the gym. I have a partner, and I still need to have free time to maintain my sanity. And so, like, it's hard to, it can be hard to balance, like feeling like, oh, am I making good use of my time? Am I improving my craft? And also giving yourself permission to like rest and do things that just fill you up. Um, and then, yeah, the third one is opportunities. Like, at the end of the day, we are guaranteed a monthly show around here, and we have done some work to try to create more of those opportunities, but even then, those come like, every few months or so. So, um, I we also don't have. I love the Zach. The Zach is an incredible venue, but it's not like any of these drag bars that we see online that some of these girls get
No.
to perform at every weekend. So I don't know, we don't get to like get our reps in that way in the same way. So I think that those are like the three biggest obstacles that I see as far as like improving in my drag.
Yeah. I mean, just to speak on the opportunities thing, Zootown Arts Community Center, one of the greatest venues to bless God's green earth. I love it so much. It provides so much for our community. But it is first and foremost a community center. It's not like a local bar that has like, one, it doesn't have a liquor license, and like we don't, neither of us drink really,
Right.
so that doesn't like affect us in terms of like, oh, we need to, I definitely know some people who feel like they need to drink to do drag, and that's a bummer.
Right.
But like, audiences tip better when they're drinking, and
Yes.
like it's easier for people to kind of like lower their inhibitions in that way. I mean, they sell beer and wine, but they don't sell liquor, and that's the thing that a lot of people really enjoy.
Hmm.
In terms of like the actual venue itself, I've said this a few times, but because the ISCSM shows are for the nonprofit and therefore people don't get paid, when people only do drag for the ISCSM and their only experience is really these monthly shows, they don't really kind of understand the stakes of like what organizing a show means and what like putting on a good performance. I mean, that
Yeah.
sounds a little harsh. And it is, unfortunately, because, we know a lot of people who, uh, drag is a hobby for them, and like, we're very passionate about drag. There's no like skill requirement for drag. But some people, they don't, improving is not a part of their like goal for drag. Their goal is
Hmm.
just to do it at all. And that's fine, and they're valid. But when you have this show where you're not concerned about getting any money for it, and you have an audience that is always going to be there because they're there for the organization itself, um, it kind of like spoils them.
Hmm.
And sometimes you'll see these performers, they will get like a paid gig, and it'll be in like a different sort of environment. You know, the Zach has this beautiful stage, bunch of seats set up in a way that makes sense. They've got a ramp for the people with not great mobility to use, and it kind of creates this like runway um, for your drag, and it's like really posh in terms of like a drag venue setup
Yeah.
where you and we've performed in some real dives. We've performed in some, you know,
Yeah.
like, hey, here's a taped off square, and everybody is just sitting at a table around you,
Yep.
and half the audience didn't even know there was going to be a drag show. But you'll get to keep your tips if you make any.
Yeah.
And like those are the shows that like I feel like they really steal your resolve and they
Yeah.
really make you like a stronger, you know, it's like invaluable experience that I think will make
Totally.
you a much better performer. Which brings me to my next question. Tell me about your worst gig, because we've all got them. Not every gig is great.
Right.
Even the ones where sometimes the gig was really good for everybody else, it maybe wasn't good for you for one reason or another. But it never go like if you have done drag and every show that you have done has been awesome, you have not done enough shows.
Yeah. Yes, because something's always bound to go wrong, so oh God, let's see, the worst gig. Um, okay. One of
And
the
if you've
worst,
got more than one, if they're like
yeah,
competing, we can talk about multiple.
we could chat
Cause
about it. Okay, yeah. So I think there's a couple that come to mind, and they're the worst for different reasons, but one of the shows that comes to mind is last year at Montana Pride at the Western. I had a lovely time for the most part, but I think you were at the Western this year, but the Western is so hot,
it's the hottest venue I've ever been in.
which is so funny because they love to brag about how there's an air conditioner in the dressing room, but I think
Oh my god. It's like bragging about having a vending machine or something.
I think that this year someone was saying that it was like 90 degrees in there. Like it was so hot. But I like was wearing this giant ponytail that Diana and I had just built just the week before, and it I don't wear this wig anymore. Diana, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I love you, but I don't wear it anymore because it just doesn't sit right on my head. I'd have to like literally have a bald shaved head for it to like look normal. But and so it was just like that was bothering me all night. It was ungodly hot. I was with only one other performer that I actually like knew at the time. I think I'd only been performing for like a year and a half at that point, so fairly new. And so I was just like, I'm sweaty, I'm stressed about how I'm presenting because of this ponytail, and and then my grandparents were there.
Oh my god. Family at the
Yeah,
gig is such a mixed bag.
it
Like,
really is. Like,
it's so crazy. Were they positive? Were they kind about your performance or
they
about the show?
were, they were. So that was good. And luckily, you know, it was so hot in there that they didn't stay long. So
They watched you perform and they were like, we are getting the
they're
fuck
like,
out of
have
here.
fun suffering. We're leaving.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And just like an aside, could talk about Montana Pride a little bit.
Yeah.
For those of the people who, if anybody stumbles upon this that is not privy to like the Montana, the Pride Marathon, essentially how it works is that, you know, Montana is a lot of smaller towns, and it's also a very big state space wise. So not everybody who lives in a small town on like say in Kalispell, which is a couple hours north of Missoula, can go to, like, if there was one big pride. Not everybody could go to it. So all the pride organizers and all of the, like, queer um, communities, they essentially get together at the beginning of a year, of the calendar year, and they plan out which prides are going to be on which weekends. And starting in April with, is it
Livingston.
Livingston Pride, they
Mm-hmm.
kick it all off. I still haven't done a Livingston Pride. I really want to. I've heard that they're phenomenal and that
Oh
the people
yeah.
who run them are really great. Um, and then Bozeman does their Pride like shortly after. Missoula Pride is usually pretty early in June, but that varies. But either way, bunch of prides all summer
Mm-hmm.
long. And then the final pride takes place in Helena, which is the state capital of Montana. And um, I'll just put it out there, since this is my show and I'm not afraid of any consequences, that I really hate the way that this is organized. I understand that there's a lot of drag performers in Montana, but they do 3 separate drag shows in 3 different venues. And I don't know if it's just that um, they don't want to hurt any of the venue's feelings by not having a drag show there or anything like that, but it's a pretty small town and not a whole ton of people are traveling for it. I don't want to take opportunities away from anybody, but like having 3 shows all in one night at the same time, it's just kind of a clusterfuck every single time. And the people who MC these shows, it's the same 3 MCs every year, and they rotate the bars, and they do a high school gym class style pick 'em in their secret calls where they draft each performer for their venues. And I don't have like a better solution. I just feel like there's not it's not as organized as like I think any of us would like it to be. And all the venues have their issues. None of them are perfect. No venue is perfect, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But the Western, which is the benefit of the Western, is that it's 2 blocks away from the hotel that we all stay at. So that's pretty rad. But it is the hottest venue that like any of us have ever performed in. And the other 2 venues, the Rialto and the Windbag, they've got their perks and their negatives, but I'm just convinced at this point that it's like the people who do that end of the organizing. One thing that you'll learn doing pride gigs is that a lot of the people who organize drag events have never done drag, so they don't really consider some things about it. And I don't want to turn this into the Iris Wines podcast, but I just needed to go off on an aside about the Helena Pride situation.
Okay, fair enough.
But you said you had a second gig that was bad for a different reason.
Okay. I was gonna say, I also want to clarify that, like, both these gigs were also good for other reasons, but this other gig that comes to mind was Kalispell, the all ages show last year. And I think this is a good show, to your point of, like, these types of shows really sort of, like, steel your resolve as a performer, but I think that there were 2 kids and their parents that showed up to this all ages show.
All ages drag is its own weird, evil
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah. And, you know, it can be really tough to perform to an audience of like 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I also performed at this show, so I'm familiar. And this show they did not do an all ages drag show this
this
year
year.
for Kalispell Pride, which we both attended. And it's worth mentioning, Kalispell Pride is my personal favorite pride. I'm actually wearing my Kalispell Pride, my Glacier Queer Alliance shirt right now.
They're incredible.
Yeah, they're awesome. They treat us so well, and Kalispell is just a place that like really, for those of you who aren't super in the know, that area, like the Flathead area, has some weirdo white supremacy issues. And so doing drag up there is its own like radical thing to do because it's important to show that you're not afraid of losers like that.
Yep.
And yeah, everybody who goes to the shows, who's not doing the drag, but attending the shows, you can just feel how grateful they are that like this is happening. And yeah, so the evening show is awesome. It's also hot, and they don't have an air conditioner. But it is at least packed with people who are excited to see you and very grateful to see you. The other thing about that all ages show is that it was like lit like daytime. It's in this like in the Kalispell Mall, which is like a desolate mall, by the way. And it is in this like side community room. I don't know if it's not a shop, but it's like this
I don't
big.
know what they use it for on regular
It's got
days.
like tables and it's just like a big room. I think it's a room they mostly do like markets in, because it always has like market vendors set up and stuff like that. And it was just lit like normal. I remember I performed one of my favorite Pride songs to perform, which is Light of Clear Blue Morning by Dolly Parton, because it's got a great build. It's a very uplifting song. And I just remember being up there spinning like a top, like losing my mind in front of like 6 people for $8 whole.
Oh, God.
And yeah, it definitely steals your resolve. I mean, we, not to expose our lack of audience at our last show, we, as the Bounce House, we organized a video game show, a video game themed show, and 10 people came to it. It was like on the north side of town in this like small venue that has been very supportive of us, but it's just hard to get people to go out there. And something that we've also realized in our years of experience in drag is that August is like the dead month. Like after Helena Pride, before students come back to school, it's like pulling teeth to get people to go to drag shows. So the fact that we can... Yeah, and performers, because it's like, everybody is exhausted. If people have gone to all these prides, I mean, even we were like, just exhausted from all the gigs that we'd done.
Yeah.
And we had a great time. I mean, like, I had a blast. I did this, like, solid snake number where I was crawling around in a box on the floor.
So good.
Would not recommend crawling around on the floor in drag. That floor was not clean.
Oh, certainly not.
You do it for the love. Another thing I wouldn't recommend in terms of hygiene, don't put money in your mouth. I did that once, and I immediately regretted it. Just don't do it. It's not as sexy as you think it is.
No, not when you're the one with the money in the mouth.
No, most certainly not. But yeah, I mean, like, those gigs, they're so valuable in a non-monetary way. They just make you a better performer because listen, it doesn't matter how many people go to the gig. If it's 2 kids and their families, if it's the 10 people that go, they went to see you, and you are, like, obligated to give them a performance.
Yes. Oh,
so
this reminds me, actually, of... I have one more gig, just an honorable mention for worst gig, real quick.
Oh, no, please, by all means. Talking about bad gigs is like, experiencing bad gigs sucks.
Yeah.
But talking about them afterwards is like such a valuable, like, crucial part of being a drag artist. And like, it brings all of us great joy. So please tell me about another bad gig.
Okay, so this one was Anaconda Pride this year.
Oh, I
And
did hear some things about Anaconda Pride.
the reason that I bring this up is because you were talking about like how important it is for the kids or these all ages shows, and it was the all ages show at Anaconda, and for whatever reason there was some sound issues happening, and so every single song that was played, it sounded as if the lyrics of the track had been scrubbed, and it was just music.
It's a karaoke version, baby.
Yes, but it was like you could like faintly hear the vocal track, and so like it really exposed the people who didn't know their words. but but it was also like I felt so bad for our audience because like they couldn't really hear the music either. They could,
Yeah.
but it was like probably like 20 middle school, high school age kids, and they, even though it was like the worst sound issues I've ever experienced at a drag show, they were like on cloud nine, over the moon about having seen the show. And so like that's
Hell
why I
yeah.
wanted to mention this story, is because like even though it was like horrible sound quality, there were probably songs that they were like, we don't even know what's happening right now, but they still like were high on life and were just thrilled to be around queer
Uh,
people. So
that's beautiful. And
mhm.
like that is, we do it for those high schoolers who we wish we could have been.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I went to a drag show when I was their age, I would have never heard the end of it.
Hmm.
So yeah, well, we've talked a lot about drag. We've
Hmm.
talked about the beginnings and where we're at now. Uh, I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about not drag. Tell me what you're into. Obviously, we mentioned comic books and video games.
Yes.
Like, what's something
Hmm.
that you're really into right now that's not drag? Because I feel
Yeah.
like as much as we all do drag, it can be like very consuming, like all consuming,
Yeah.
unless you have things that are like just yours.
Yeah. Definitely.
And as you mentioned earlier, it can feel very overwhelming, especially like if you something that I really struggle with is I'll feel like when I'm doing something that's like not related to something that I want to be like improving, or like not a skill that I'm leveling up, so to speak,
Yeah.
I'll feel like I'm wasting my time, even though it's like very much a recreational
Yeah.
thing, and like that's very important. And so like kind of battling that
Hmm.
mentality is like really important for me. So I'm curious about what you do outside of drag that like keeps you sane. What's something you love right now?
Two things that I feel like I wouldn't be saying if I didn't have, in addition to drag, is like the first one is fantasy, um, fantasy novels specifically. It's sort of something that I've reconnected with in the last year of my life, is like reading and fantasy novels. I've been slowly making my way through Brandon Sanderson's books recently. Um,
There's a lot of them.
there is a lot, and the one I'm listening to right now is like 60 hours on audiobook, so they're they're long. So, but I've been loving that. And the other thing that is also like a somewhat recent thing that I've discovered in my life that is something that keeps me sane is like uh, going to the gym. Uh, that was something that I was like terrified of when I was younger, because I was like, oh, all the mean straight boys who bully me are
Or at the
going to the
gym.
gym. And so doing that in my adult life in a way that like feels good for me has been like so impactful. Um, and so yeah, fantasy novels and working out sometimes at the same time, you know?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing about the gym too, I think that a lot of people who don't go to the gym don't really realize. First of all, there are shitty people everywhere you go.
Yeah.
There is a chance that you'll run into them no matter what. But for the most part, anybody who's serious about the gym, they do not care about you. They
No,
are
not at
not looking
all.
at you. They are not, if they are looking at you, it's because you're on a rack that they want to use and they're wondering when you're going to be done.
Yep.
and they're gonna judge you if you don't clean your bench and everything after you use it. So I think that's something that a lot of people need to kind of just like come to terms with.
Yeah.
But like in terms of things that improve your drag, like even if the gym is something that you brings you personal joy outside of drag, it does help your drag because it
Yes.
makes like drag is a physically strenuous activity.
It really is.
I I've been running more. That's like kind of my workout thing,
Hmm.
just to one because I work at home. I work a desk job, and so my life is very static, and I just needed something to like get out and do things. But like it's important to build like a cardio tank, you know?
Hmm.
If you're performing a number in like a bar that doesn't have a stage and you want to get tipped, you need to go around to every single table and you
Yeah.
need to lip sync and
Hmm.
you need to, throw in a little choreo here and there, and those things all cost energy.
Yeah.
It's not easy to just strut around, and like it helps to have a like to work out, have a little bit of a physical gas tank, so to speak. And so yeah, I think that's a really great one. I would recommend everybody. I'm certainly not saying everybody needs to be like skinny and beautiful, because I don't think in shape and skinny are the same thing. But
Yeah.
having something physically that you do is like so important, and it will help you in the long run. It'll help your mental health. It'll help your ability to do drag. It will teach you your limits and like help you expand them. It's just yeah, it's awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
rad.
Even just as a way to sort of like be more present in your body, I think exercise is really valuable, even if you didn't want to do it as like for the physical activity of it, just as a way to like sort of like recenter yourself and be more present is, I think, a great benefit as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
love
I
it.
think that's a great note to end on. We've had this lovely conversation for the last hour.
Yes.
Stella, please tell all of the 5 people who are going to listen to this, who are probably already following you on everything, where they can follow you, what you're up to,
Right.
if you've got anything going on in the near future.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Stella Kinesis Queen on Instagram, and Blue Sky. I think that's all I really have at the moment. And I
Got to
think the
get you on
next,
that letterboxed more.
yes, I do need to get on Letterboxd more. I recently watched V for Vendetta and did
And
update that in my Letterboxd. So
you currently have my copy of The Substance, so I'm
yeah,
expecting to see a full-throated review
yes, I think we're gonna
of
watch
it.
that tonight.
Oh
So
hell yeah, I'm excited to hear about it.
and I think my next big gig will actually be Montana Drag Wrestling in October. So,
Hell
um,
yeah. We will
between
be
now and
wrestling each other.
yes, we will. Between now and then, I have like coronation and stuff, but I won't be performing in that. So,
I
yeah.
will not talk about how I feel about all of that in this video. I'll talk about Montana Pride. I'll bite my tongue on the coronation stuff. Everybody who knows me has heard enough.
Yes, that's fair. And maybe that's better for the beginning of the hour-long conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then it'll hit the 2 hour mark for sure. Okay, my love. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for doing this, embarking on this maiden voyage with me.
Oh, of
And,
course.
I'm sure I'll be seeing you around.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Wow. What a riveting conversation with my dear, sweet, amazing friend Stella Kinesis. I am so glad if you're sitting here and you're listening to the end of this call, this video. I am just so grateful for you, because it's proof that, somebody wants to see something like this happen. And if you or anybody that you know wants to be interviewed in something like this, I want to hear about all of your friends' queer upbringings. I want to hear about your inspirations. I want to hear about all of your worst gigs, especially. Definitely my favorite part of the conversation with Stella because it's so fun to reflect on those moments that are, maybe a little cringe in the moment, but afterwards it's always great to talk about, and reflect on and laugh at. So, this was Under the Paint. I am Iris Von Moxxii. I appreciate you, and I will hopefully catch you at the next one.